Well, good morning, my fellow patriots. Welcome to the 358th consecutive Friday meeting of the East Valley Red Friday Patriots. Thanks to all 92 of you that are in attendance, and thanks for supporting the mission of R.E.D. to remember everyone deployed. I would have to assume that we have some of our winter residents that are already on their way back home, so I anticipate over the next few weeks that most of them will have departed the area. Do we have any winter residents here that will be leaving during the month of April or May? Raise your hands. Quite a few. We're going to miss your ass. You stay in touch with us on the East Valley Red Friday Patriots website on YouTube. That way you can keep up with what's happening here. You know, speaking of America's deployed warfighters, wasn't that a remarkable synchronized rescue operation of the downed F-15? That weapon systems officer, a United States Air Force colonel, followed his escape and evasion training to the letter during the multi-day search inside enemy territory. And all the while, the CIA cooked up a fake campaign to make the Iranians believe the officer was already rescued and was actually being moved out of the country via a ground convoy. Well, in reality, the intelligence community, combined with very highly sophisticated military units, were launched with air assets to go get our guy and bring him home. And SEAL Team 6 commandos rushed in, grabbed our airman, get him out from behind enemy lines. And what might be most stunning as part of that mission is the United States built an airfield and refueling point inside Iran that was used for the mission. Planes were flown into the landing strip for exfiltration. And following SEAL Team 6's rescue of the airmen, Delta Force was called into the makeshift airfield when problems were encountered with two of the transport planes, and the SEAL team ultimately had to blow the planes up rather than leave them behind in Iran. I think this mission proves that the United States has capabilities no other country could dream of having, and the goal is to never leave a man behind. We will go scorched earth to bring our men home. That's what separates us from the rest of the world. Folks, last weekend, the world watched American Special Operations members, Air Force commandos, and the greatest pilots on the planet do the unthinkable to bring our guy home. It was an absolutely incredible mission that will go down in history as possibly the best military extraction of all time. Thank the good Lord for America's extraordinarily talented warfighters. You know, most of you are aware that my wife, Hank, and I are native Texans. And prior to our relocation from Texas to Arizona, as a matter of fact, this month, April, will be 10 years ago, we lived in the hill country of Central Texas. Now, much of Central Texas is rock, and it takes a rather huge effort to clear the land and prepare it for planting anything. Many folks will put the rock to good use, and they'll construct these walls around their property, gorgeous walls. Well, just a piece down the road from our home, was an old farmer whose family had cultivated commercial truck crops in that area for decades. He was well known for delivering top-notch vegetables to local markets. And in a desire to expand the size of his farm, the old farmer bought 5 acres of creek bottom land that was contiguous with his farm, but the acreage had never been cleared. It was all rock and mesquite brush and juniper, which is the most hated tree in Texas. So he started on clearing and cultivating the land, preparing it to plant a garden with a variety of vegetables and corn. It really became a garden spot, and the farmer was quite proud of what he had accomplished. So one Sunday morning after church service, the farmer asked the pastor if he'd stop by and have a look. Well, the preacher did stop by for a visit, and he took one look and he said, "Oh my goodness, this is wonderful." He said, "These are the biggest tomatoes I've ever seen. Praise the Lord." He said, "These green beans, that squash, those melons, the Lord has really blessed this place." Well, the old farmer was listening to all this. He was getting more and more fidgety. Finally, he blurted out, "Reverend, I wish you could have seen it before I bought it when the Lord was doing it by himself." Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We do have a few first-time guests this morning, and I want to take this opportunity to introduce them. Dwayne Byerly. Dwayne, where are you? Dwayne, will you stand back there? Dwayne is a guest of Paul Newman. Are we talking about the Paul that I know or the real Paul Newman?
He's near.
He's near.
Yeah.
Dwayne, you're a Navy veteran, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
You served the years 1960 to 1964. But you never were on a ship. What happened?
Well, it's a long story, but I'll try to make it short. We worked in Virginia in a missile testing area, not flying them, but tested them. And we had a group of probably 36 of us worked in this division. And one year we decided we were going to have a party. And we rented a yacht to have a fishing party in the bay in Virginia. And we rented it from the Air Force. So we were on that ship one day. I didn't get seasick, but we had what we called a line tangling party because there were 36 of us fishing with lines in the water. And I don't think we caught one shark. But we drank a lot of beer.
That is what Navy was renowned for, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Glad to have you with us. Thank you, and I hope you join us again. We also have Steve Davis with us. Steve, where are you? Steve, raise up there.
Hi.
Steve, now, you also are a friend of Paul's, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Well, we're glad that Paul is doing a little recruiting for us. But you're going to be heading back to Washington, state of Washington, here pretty soon. Is that accurate?
Probably about the end of June, yeah.
Well, you're right down the street from us. We'd love to have you back with us anytime. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you soon.
Great. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Lisa Peterson. Lisa, where are you? Lisa's standing right over here, and you know Steve Peterson somehow.
Steve's my dad.
Ah.
And he served in Vietnam.
Absolutely, and we are absolutely glad to have you with us. Now, you reside in Wisconsin?
Yes, I do.
So you're down here strictly for a visit, short-term visit?
Yes.
Have you ever seen anything like this Red Friday program up in Wisconsin?
I have not.
would you do me a favor? On Fridays, wear red.
I will do that.
Thank you.
And thank you for your
joining us.
service, everybody here.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Kathy Boron. Kathy is a neighbor of Mayor Chip Wilson. Is that correct?
That's right.
Chip, is she pretty? She walks straight line? Yes. Now, Kathy, he's getting close to the end of his term, so just tell me, is he okay, neighbor?
Oh, yeah. He and Peggy are wonderful neighbors.
Well, I would appreciate very much so if he gets out of line, if you'd just call us. We'll get him squared away.
Don't hold your breath.
Thank you for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
My husband was in the Army, and my dad was in the Navy. My dad was at Pearl Harbor when it was bombed.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So thank you to all the veterans.
You have quite a family history there for military service.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Barb Conrad. Barb, how were you referred to us?
I don't know. I saw you on Facebook or something. I don't know.
Really?
It must be AI.
So you don't know anyone here.
No, but I do now. These are all my new best friends.
Superb. That's what it's all about, is the
But my
camaraderie.
late husband was a Vietnam Marine, and so I feel very comfortable here.
Veterans love to be around veterans, don't they?
Yeah.
And veteran spouses love to be around veterans.
Yeah, and there's no line on that paper that says, who were you related to?
We are so glad that you joined us today, and please feel free to come back anytime.
I will.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. May I have a hoo-ah for these guests?
We have members of this Red Friday group. They're either retired military personnel, spouses of military veterans, retirees, spouses of deceased military personnel, and a number of you who have children or grandchildren who are serving our nation and may currently be serving in the armed forces. Therefore, I think it's important that we stay abreast of the service and benefits afforded to our military personnel and their families, both active and retired, and those in between, which are referred to as the gray area retirees. And one of the more important benefits of military personnel and retirees is health care. I think everyone in the room will agree that quality health care is important, and even more so for aging seniors. Well, this morning, I am honored to introduce our guest speaker, supporting team of professionals representing Tricare West Healthcare Alliance, the Contract Western Division of Tricare, which is managed by the Defense Health Agency and Department of Defense.
Man, I will tell you, it does me, just fills me with pride to see all you guys here. Some of you guys look like you're ready to deploy right now, all right? So I would tell you, I'm just really proud to be here and glad you guys invited us. I've served 26 years in the Army, retired as a full-bird colonel, did all of my time, thank you. Did all of my time in the medical field. And my grandfather also served. He's 93 years old today. Okay, so I just called him a few minutes ago just to tell him happy birthday, and he told me, yeah, they're taking me out to breakfast this morning, and I'm heading to the casino right after. Now, you have to understand, I said casino. Now, that's the same as a casino, but in Mississippi, it's considered a casino, okay? Same thing. But I would tell you, once he found out that I was going to get commissioned in the Army, he told me a story that reminds me of what I see here today. And I got to share it with you because it's so appropriate for today. But as he found out that I was going to become an officer, he was enlisted, by the way, but he said, I want to tell you something. He said, you know, I had all these dogs out here. He's a hunter by trade, loved to hunt all his life. And again, you're thinking about Mississippi. If you've never been, you don't need to go. But, all right. But Mississippi, the woods are so thick, and the things that you can find out there in the woods, man, would change your life. But he used to He used to have all of these hunting dogs that he kept in a cage. But he had one dog that stayed at the house. He didn't come in the house, but he stayed right at the front door. And his name was Buck. Now, Buck thought he was a hunting dog. He wanted to be a hunting dog, but he never could go out and hunt with my grandfather. But every morning, Buck would get up and he'd see this rabbit come out of the woods, and he'd go chasing that rabbit every single day. Just like clockwork. Next morning come, Buck gets up, he sees that rabbit, and he goes chasing that rabbit. Now, over time, some of the other dogs in the neighborhood, because we lived in the country, on a farm, they would get up and they start chasing after Buck, okay? So every day you see him. Buck gets up, he chases a rabbit, and you see 3 or 4 other dogs chasing after Buck. Now, over time, one by one, the dogs start falling off, till it was right back to Buck getting up every morning, chasing the rabbit. Now, my grandfather asked me, why do you think all those dogs stop chasing in the morning like Buck? You know, now I'm 21 at the time, and I still can't understand where he's going with this story. He said, the reason why the other dogs stopped chasing is because they never saw the rabbit, okay? So Buck was the only one to see the rabbit. What he was teaching me was leadership. If you want to be a leader, you got to get the others to see what you see. You got to get the others to see your vision. Now, coming in here, I see Dick Nations, and I look at you guys, and I can tell you, that's Buck. Looking at you guys with your red on here, showing up to breakfast, I'm telling you, he has gotten you all to see the vision. He's gotten you all to see what he sees. And that right there tells me he is the right leader for this organization. So if you will, just give me a round of applause for Dick Nation.
I am also honored to introduce our guest speaker, Claire Blatz, a beneficiary educator support representative with Tri-West Healthcare. Now, Claire is no stranger to the armed forces. She is married to a retired Army veteran who served on active duty with the 2nd Battalion, U.S. Army Ranger Regiment, and then transitioned to the California Army National Guard. Claire's husband retired 7 years ago out of Fort Benning, Georgia. Claire has been employed by Tricare for 6 years, 5 of those years with Health Net Federal Services, and 1 year with Tri-West Contract. Prior to Tricare, she served as a family service coordinator with the CANG for 13 years, where she worked closely with not only Tricare, but also with the Defense Enrollment Eligibility Reporting System, with chaplains, finance people, behavioral health subject matter experts, and numerous others to provide support and assistance to the CANG personnel and their families. Claire earned a Bachelor of Science degree in agricultural business with a concentration in marketing from Cal Poly State University in San Luis Obispo. She and her family live in the beautiful central coast of California, and her pride and joy happens to be her 2 granddaughters, ages 5 and 3. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Claire Blatz.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I was asked to present Tricare information on retirement benefits. So I'm going to run through some slides that I present pretty much daily. To our active duty is what it's written for. For our active duty, they're getting ready to transition into retirement. But we also can cover that gray area and any questions you may have after I get done running through these slides. Okay, so this is the reminder we give to all of our beneficiaries. It's really, really important to keep your Tricare benefit working smoothly, is to always make sure that the DEERS system is reporting your current situation. So what I mean by that is that they always have to make sure that DEERS has their current address, current family dynamic. So anytime there's marriage, divorce, childbirth, adoption, they always update DEERS. And then those updates to DEERS give them qualifying life events. A QLE gives them 90 days to make changes to their TRICARE. So they don't have to wait till open enrollment every year to make changes. And we do have that every year from Veterans Day to the second Monday in December. During those 4 weeks, they can update and change their TRICARE benefit how they choose without having a qualifying life event. But other times during the year, those QLEs give them that same option. So we always point out to them that MillConnect is a really handy tool that they have access to that allows them to log on anywhere they are and check their DEERS record. DEERS can do some wonky things sometimes. When my husband retired out of Georgia, we moved back to California. That's where we're from. And we went to get ID cards, and the system said that we were no longer married. So they said, well, you know, there's a glitch, come back. So we came back 2 weeks later, and my husband was married, but I was not. And I don't know who he was married to, but it wasn't me. And so with the third time's the charm, we went back. My husband just walked out and said, we'll come back, you know, so he was done. So we came back a few weeks later, and because I wanted that ID card. I had shopping to do and, you know, things like that. I wanted proof that we could get on base. And he said, okay, let's go back. And we were married again. So sometimes DEERS just goes on vacation for a while, and it's really important to always keep an eye on that so that your benefits are working smoothly. So on this slide, the top link is a link to the RAPIDS website. It takes you to all the local ID card offices across the United States. So we always make sure that our beneficiaries know how to locate the nearest one to them. And then we always tell them that if they're going on terminal leave, so a lot of times they have that leave stacked up at the end, and they're going to go take that time off before their last day of active duty or their retirement day. So all active duty service members are on a program called TRICARE Prime. So that means that they have a PCM assigned to them. That provider manages all their health care. So when they go on terminal leave out of the area of that PCM, we always want to make sure that they know how they can get their care. So they can always go to an emergency room if they're on leave or on a trip somewhere and it's an emergency type situation. But if they're looking for urgent care, our active duty service members need a referral. So we always make sure that they have the 24-hour nurse advice line. It's on our website on tricare.mil. It works overseas, so wherever they are, they can use that. They'll get triaged over the phone. They'll get sent to the nearest in-network facility. And then also for the active duty service member, they'll get a referral in the system. If they fail to get that referral, then they get a bill in the mail. And then for costing purposes, we break up our beneficiaries into 2 categories. So you can see on the screen the definition of Group A and Group B. For our traditional or current retirees or active duty service members that are getting ready to retire, we always go with Group A for an example, because the definition is that their initial appointment or enlistment began before January 1st, 2018. So we're talking to those that are retiring today. And then this slide is showing the different ways that our retirees can re-enroll in a TRICARE program. So for active duty, their TRICARE benefit ends on their last day of active duty. Their first step is to go to DEERS with that DD 214. And then they have to turn around and contact TRICARE, either Tri-West if they're living in the western region, or Humana for the eastern region, to re-enroll in a TRICARE program. Those are the steps they have to take in order to continue on with TRICARE as a retiree. So we do have the beneficiary web enrollment site through MillConnect that they can use. They can call Tri-West or Humana, or they can print it out and mail it in. I always tell them to call, even if they're on hold for a while. It's definitely worth it whenever you have questions or problems with your TRICARE, or in this case, they have to give them a premium to get it started. So I always recommend calling and talking to a person. So the first option that they have as a retiree is TRICARE Prime. Same program that they're on when they're active duty. Managed care, they have a PCM assigned to them. They go to that PCM for everything. If they need care at a specialty doctor office, that PCM puts that referral in the system, and then they can go forward with those appointments out with the civilian specialty doctor. So with Tricare Prime for a retiree, where they get their care is going to depend on where they live. So if they live within 50 miles of a military treatment facility, so a hospital or a clinic on a base that has the capability to see all populations, they could have a PCM on base. So what I mean by that is that some bases or military hospitals and clinics are too small. So maybe they only see active duty because the priority is going to be active duty, then active duty family members, then retirees, retiree family members. So if a base has a hospital or clinic and they have enacted the right of first refusal, that means that they have the capability of seeing all populations that live within 50 miles of that base. In that case, they would go on base for their care to their PCM. If they're outside of that, or the base nearest them doesn't have the room or the provider to patient ratio that's needed, they will get assigned a PCM out in town. It'll be a civilian provider that's in network with Tricare, and they'll go to that provider for all their health care. Works the same whether it's on base or out in town. The difference being that out in town there's copays, on base there's not. But as far as how the program works, it works the same way. They have to get those referrals to go outside of that PCM's office. Now the bottom of the screen is just giving some reminders. Those that are on Tricare Prime, because of the PCM and the referrals needed, we just like to remind them to get their care, fill prescriptions before they leave the area. They can always go to urgent care. Retirees don't need a referral to go to urgent care. They can always go to the ER if it's an emergency. Seasonal moves is talking about our beneficiaries that split their time between the West and the East. So if they can show a specific address change and they're looking at that zip code specifically in Deers, they go to the East Coast for 6 months, they update their address, they can re-enroll under Humana Military and get a PCM wherever they're residing on the East Coast or Eastern region of the United States. And then when they come back to the West, they can do that same thing with Deers and then re-enroll with Tri-West. Just to give you an idea of what the costs are today for 2026, they're on the screen. These are enrollment fees that retirees pay once a year. Our calendar year runs from January 1st through December 31st. So for an individual, they enroll, they spend $381.96 a year. And they can break that up into monthly payments if they choose. And then for a family, it's $765. So I always stop right here and give an example because I have a 30-year-old daughter who's married and has those 2 adorable little grandbabies that they mentioned, 5 and 3, 3 today. Oh gosh, it's her birthday. Anyways, they both have careers. They both have benefits that they can use. They pay $1,000 a month for health insurance. And yes, we live in the beautiful state of California, but that's what they pay. So out-of-pocket costs. Let's say that the beneficiary goes to their PCM and that PCM says, I want to send you to a dermatologist. That's a specialty care outpatient visit. There's going to be a copay. That copay for 2026 is $39. And then this slide is just reminding those on Tricare Prime that there is a point of service charge if they go outside of that PCM. So you always have to follow the rules on Tricare Prime. And then there is the U.S. Family Health Plan that we're obligated to share about. It operates where those 6 stars are. They run their plan just like Tricare Prime, so that means it's managed care. The big difference between them and us is that you cannot get care on base or use base pharmacies when you're enrolled in U.S. Family Health Plan. The other option our beneficiaries have is to enroll in Tricare Select. And sometimes our active duty, they're getting ready to retire. They get excited because their whole career has been that managed care on Tricare Prime. I've heard it all. I've heard those that say, I just want to get care on base. That's what I'm used to. I want to be on Tricare Prime. And then I have those that say, I want to go to Tricare Select. because with Tricare Select, you manage your own health care. There's no referrals needed. There's no PCM. All the care is out in town, so there is a little bit extra cost to it because it's all civilian care. I always get asked, well, how do I know what doctors I can go to? How do I find those providers? We have find a provider tool on our website. You can go on there and you click at the top, you put in what type of provider you're looking for, either by specialty. If you have a provider by name that you want to look up and see if they're in contract or if they're in network with Tricare, you can look by name. You can narrow it down to how many miles you want to travel from your zip code, accepting new patients, and that populates providers that are in contract with Tricare. That's the key to Tricare Select, because it is all out in the civilian sector, is to always stay within network providers, keeps the costs down. So a little bit more expensive. There is a yearly deductible with Tricare Select. The service member does have to enroll, just like with Tricare Prime. Sometimes, even though there's no referrals needed, sometimes a prior auth is needed, an authorization. Example would be maybe a cardiologist might want to know why the service or the beneficiary wants to come to them. And in that case, they just work with the contractor and we get that authorization for the provider's office. Let's talk about the cost. So that annual enrollment fee for Tricare Select for an individual is $186.96, or for a family, $375. Now, if you're keeping track and you're thinking about what Tricare Prime was, you're probably thinking, Claire, that's not more expensive. But it is, because there's a deductible to meet. So $150 for an individual, $300 for a family. All those copays out in town are going to go towards that deductible. Once the deductible's met, Tricare starts paying more of that allowable amount. Out-of-pocket costs. That $39 copay for dermatology is $52 with Tricare Select, so a little bit higher copay. Then we have a thing called a catastrophic cap. The definition is the amount of out-of-pocket costs the beneficiary occurs in a calendar year. So for Tricare Prime, that's $3,000. For Tricare Select, it's $4,381. So it's as a family as a whole, and everybody's copay's out in town. So it's the pharmacies out in town, the doctor's offices. Anybody has surgery, that's a big one, because it's a doctor bill, a hospital bill, an anesthesiologist bill. All those copays add towards that cap. If that cap is met, then there aren't any more costs throughout the calendar year. Now, the cap does not include that annual enrollment fee. However, if the beneficiary chooses to make that annual enrollment fee in monthly payments, and they still have monthly payments outstanding that are due, and they meet that cap, then they absorb the rest of those outstanding payments. Okay, and then overseas, we have the TOP program that works just like Tricare Select. The main thing I like to tell my beneficiaries about overseas is that they're covered. They can just go get the care they need. The 24-hour nurse advice line works overseas. And then sometimes, depending on where you get your care, you have to pay up front and file a claim to get reimbursed. And then we have Tricare Young Adult. So our children age out at the age of 21. If they go on to be a full-time college student, they have coverage up to the age of 23, or if they graduate before their 23rd birthday. So for example, that 30-year-old of mine graduated from college when she was 22. That's the month she lost her Tricare benefit. The way that the student gets that coverage started is they get a letter from their Institute of Higher Learning that states they're a full-time college student. It also has a projected graduation date on it. That letter they take to DEERS, and they get an ID card that either expires on their 23rd birthday or on that projected graduation date, whichever one comes first. Now, if the young adult is still 50% financially dependent on the parents, and they do not have health care benefits available to them through their own employer, there is an option to purchase Tricare Young Adult, which takes them out to the age of 26. It's a separate program, and the costs are at the top of the screen. So an example would be that kid of mine that graduated when she was 22 and went on to grad school, did not make enough money to have her own Tricare or her own health benefit or have benefits. She only worked part-time. So this would have been an option for her. Tricare for life. Okay, so this is when Tricare goes back to being automatic again, and it's of no cost. How it works is that when the retiree becomes eligible for Medicare, usually age 65, sometimes sooner, then they become eligible for Tricare for life. So when they get the letter in the mail saying it's time to sign up for Medicare, they sign up for Part A and Part B. B is what turns on Tricare for life. They make their last and final trip to the local ID card office, and they show them that they have their Medicare A and B. They scan it into the DEERS system, and Tricare for life is turned on. From that day forward, Medicare is their primary insurance, and Tricare for life is the free wraparound to Medicare. So it's secondary insurance. If they end up with other health care benefits, they pay right in the middle. So Medicare is always first, Tricare is always last. If they have a spouse that turns 65 or Medicare eligible at a different time than them, that spouse gets Tricare for life at that time. 4 ways that they can get pharmacy. Military pharmacy, 90-day supply at no cost. Home delivery, very popular with our retiree population and those that take maintenance medicines. They sign up with Express Scripts and get 90 days supply delivered to their home with a one-time copay. Retail network, anytime you're working out in the civilian sector, we always stay within network. So CVS, Walgreens are 2 big ones. And then non-network would be like Sam's Club or Walmart. They can go there, but they're going to have a higher copay at the counter. And this is just showing an example of Express Scripts copays. And then other health insurance, Tricare is always the last payer. Same with pharmacy. All right, Federal Employee Dental and Vision Insurance Program. I actually left some brochures on the back table, but benefeds.gov is where our retirees can go shopping for dental and vision insurance. So like I said, all of their medical benefits end on their last day of active duty. So 3 separate enrollments here. I don't work for these companies. However, I do like to talk a little bit about dental just because dental insurance is pretty straightforward. All the companies are going to offer pretty much the same thing, 2 cleans a year, x-rays, and so forth. But if I was shopping for dental insurance, the 2 things I would consider would be the deductible amounts, and I would find a couple plans that fit my family's needs, and I would compare those plans. And then I also like to tell them if they have anybody that is still in the age where they can get orthodonture, then you might want to look for a plan that covers that. And then benefeds.gov also has vision insurance. That's for glasses and contacts. Tricare, we cover the eye exam that as a retiree, they're eligible every 2 years to have that wellness exam for their eyes. But if anyone wears glasses or contacts, vision insurance is typically not very expensive and it is available. So 3 different enrollments that they have to think about when they retire. And then we meet the Affordable Care Act, so they get a 1095 every year for their taxes. And this is how you reach Tricare, either Tri-West for the West or Humana for the East. And I left a lot of, well, not a lot, but I left some materials in the back. I left some wallet cards that have all the phone numbers. I left some other cards that have a link to our website where all the information that and more is on there, and then the Benefeds information. And I also brought a bag of red, white, and blue Tri-West eyeglass cleaners, the fabric. And that is the presentation. And would you like me to take questions now? Any questions? Yes. Defense eligibility, you read it off. I always DEERS, defense eligibility enrollment. I always forget what the R is for, but it's where the ID card office is. Any other questions? No questions. Okay. Well, thank you for having me.
Claire, We want to take this opportunity to present you with this certificate of appreciation and welcome you to the Order of the R.E.D. And this states that we hereby recognize and commend Claire Blatz for her honorable service and support of United States Armed Forces and the veteran community and championing the East Valley Red Friday Patriots.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, one other thing is you will see a few of our members here wearing this Red Friday lapel pin. And not only on these red shirts on Friday, but whenever we are in civilian attire, this helps us to promote the mission of Red Friday. So we would like to, I'm not going to pin this on your blouse because I don't see any place to pin it. That is solid.
I will wear it.
I know that you will. Now, if you will, stand right back here.
Okay.
I would appreciate it. And now I would like for our three support team to come up, and we have something we'd like to present to you as well. Thomas, I'm going to have to tell you that I already had it down. I was going to tell that story about the buck and the rabbit next week. But I was going to put a different twist on it. It's going to be East Texas rather than Mississippi. You beat me to the draw. But we'd like to take this opportunity to present each of you with a lapel pin that is an American Patriot lapel pin. And we certainly hope that you will wear this with pride.
So do you folks remember the radio program called The Rest of the Story with Paul Hart? Yeah, I think we all do. Well, only a short while ago, I was chatting with an acquaintance, and as you might guess, our conversation was predominantly about the military. And during our conversation, he asked me, what's the difference between a military base, a fort, and a camp? Pretty good question. So I would ask you, have you ever wondered why the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Navy call their major installations bases, the Army calls their major installations forts, and the Marine Corps calls their major installations camps? It's an interesting question that many of us have never had to ask or inquire about. So as Paul Harvey might say, allow me to tell you this story. You see, the Air Force calls its major installations bases to signify that the installations are the primary permanent operating locations for aircraft personnel and combat support missions. These facilities are designed for aircraft operations, including runways, maintenance hangars, and storage. In fact, the base serves as home station for Air Force units and are focused on force generation, allowing aircraft to train, deploy, and return to the base. The military term force generation refers to the systematic process of training, equipping, and organizing personnel to create ready units for operational deployments. Force generation synchronizes unit readiness cycles to meet combatant commander demands while ensuring sustainable, predictable, and high-level training for service personnel and their equipment. So the term Air Force Base emphasizes that the facility is the foundational base from which air operations are launched and sustained. On the other hand, you may be familiar with the term Air Force Station. These are Air Force installations that do not primarily host flying missions, but they support logistical or technical missions, and they are generally referred to as a station rather than a base. And yes, several Air Force stations have been upgraded to air base status over the years. This upgrade typically occurs when a station's mission grows, often increasing from a support, communication or limited surveillance role to one requiring a full wing command, increased personnel, or expanded runway operations. And the reverse is true as well. U.S. Air Force bases have been downgraded to stations, often reflecting a reduction in operational capacity, personnel, or changing mission. Now, the same terms are used for the Navy, but a Navy base is a specific type of installation designed to support fleet operations, often including anchorage and repair capabilities. And while all bases are installations, not all installations are considered major bases. So a Navy base specifically emphasizes a strategic location for launching naval operations, often featuring critical anchorage and repair docks for fleets, making it more about strategic operational points. You may also be familiar with the term Navy Station. This is a broad term for any significant facility for building, training, or supplying. Think of a naval station as a general term for Navy facilities, like air stations, while a naval base focuses on deep water support for ships. By the way, several Air Force and Navy installations are referred to as fields, often reflecting their historical roots as dirt landing strips or specialized training locations. Key examples include NAF, standing for Naval Air Station Whiting Field in Florida, and naval outlying landing fields and historical sites like Bowling Field. Now, as it pertains to Army forts, please understand that the Army comes from frontier warfare. The Army comes from defending borders, long-term occupation, and from holding territory. And in doing all that, the Army needed to build forts. An example would be Fort Hood. Forts were built to be permanent, to be defensive, and to be made to hold the ground. You may have also heard someone refer to a military installation as a garrison. However, a garrison refers to the group of soldiers stationed in a location to defend it, while the fort or fortress is a physical fortified structure or military installation thereof. Therefore, a fort would have a garrison, a group of soldiers. In essence, the garrison represents the people, whereas the fort is the infrastructure, the place that the personnel inhabit and protect. The garrison is active, it's living, defending, while the fort is passive. It is the structure itself. Now, the Marine Corps was designed a bit differently. The Marine Corps was built to fight from the ship to shore in an expeditionary manner. The Marines would land, build fast, establish a foothold, fight, and then move on. The camps they would establish would be temporary by design and built to be mobile. Now, obviously, there are major USMC installations like Camp Lejeune and Fort Pendleton, but those names come purely from tradition. Now, I know that some of you are thinking, what about the Marine Corps Air Station, such as Air Station Cherry Point, or Marine Corps Logistics Base, such as Marine Corps Logistics Base Albany in Georgia, or Marine Corps Logistics Base Barstow in California? Well, a Marine Corps Air Station is just that. It's an installation where the Marine Corps launches and maintains aircraft. And a logistics base is just that. It's a specialized installation responsible for the repair, maintenance, storage, and distribution of ground combat and support equipment for the Marine Corps. But today, in 2026, the U.S. Marine Corps term camp is mainly rooted in tradition, such as Camp Pendleton and other camps such as those located in Okinawa, Japan, that are bases under Marine Corps Base, Camp Smedley Butler. So in actuality, with exception to an installation's mission, there's not much difference in the military's use of the terms, base, fort, and camp, all of the major installations for various branches of service. So as Paul Harvey would say, now you know the rest of the story. Thanks very much.
Testing 1, 2, there we go. I do have a few announcements that I would like to make before we dismiss. Please be advised that we do have scheduled guest speakers to join us for each Friday in April and May, and I think you'll find that their presentations will be quite informative, so please plan to be in attendance and support our speakers, demonstrate our appreciation for their support of our program. Also, we want to give a shout out to those of you who have participated in the 100X Fund Drive for the Arizona Veterans Honor Tour, which is currently being coordinated through Nancy Fassbender. As you know, this nonprofit organization's mission is to recognize veterans who currently reside in Arizona who have continued to serve their communities as volunteers for a host of veteran initiatives. Each year, 15 veterans residing in Arizona will be selected by the Arizona Veterans Honor Tour Board, and they will be presented an all-expense-paid trip to Branson, Missouri, to partake in a host of activities and entertainment venues there. So as you know, the 100X vendor surveys were originally scheduled to end on April 7. However, due to a glitch at the beginning of the fund drive, 100X has extended the program for Arizona Veterans Honor Tour for 1 additional week. Therefore, the program will terminate on April 14. So, for those of you who have not participated, we would encourage you to do so by simply going online and either on your phone or computer, taking 60 to 90 seconds to do a survey, which for every survey you generate, $1.60 will be contributed to Arizona Veterans Honor Tour. For those of you who have not completed the maximum allowed 75 surveys, we would appreciate you going online and knocking those out. You can do a maximum of 25 per day and a total of no more than 75. So please get your laptops and your phones, key in the 100X website address that you see here, or the site can be accessed via your mobile phone. You know, on Friday, May 22nd, that's only 6 weeks from today, this Red Friday group will celebrate our 7th year anniversary and 364 consecutive Friday morning assemblies honoring America's deployed service members. Now, we plan a special commemoration for that event, which will correlate with the Memorial Day ceremony, which follows on Monday, May 25. So we have a special guest speaker scheduled for that particular assembly, and I encourage each of you to join us, and please bring a guest. Beginning next week, we will distribute event tickets for those of you planning to attend and for your guests that you expect that will be in attendance. The tickets will allow us to predetermine the number of folks that will attend and then coordinate that with the kitchen staff so that they can plan for meals accordingly. So mark your calendars, Friday, May 22, join us for that special event. To our guests, thank you for joining us today. We sincerely hope that you will return to share in our camaraderie and support for our mission. Please know that you will always be welcome at our Red Friday assemblies. And as a final reminder, let's not overlook the importance of our Red Friday mission to keep our deployed service members, our warfighters, in our thoughts and prayers, and continue to demonstrate our support for these fine men and women. Enjoy your weekend.